Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Dawn of Derek's Comics presents The Dawn of DC. Today we are excited to unveil not one, but two brand new Dawn of DC comics. Now, yes, technically speaking, Tom Taylor's Nightwing series that started before all of this, but was a really good closure point and transition piece for this new era, does not have the Dawn of DC moniker at the top of the comics. But most of us, including myself, are very confident that with the importance of Tom Taylor and Nightwing's character to this new era being like the face of DC now, that this run will continue as main continuity in this new era. Now, I know that you've all been very eagerly anticipating the release of these issues, so have I, and I cannot wait to share them with you. You know, as you and I both know, this new era has really captured the hearts and attentions of a lot of new fans and previous fans and current fans for the last however many decades. Now, with this new era, comes a promise of obviously new rich story and new relatable storytelling, iconic, hopefully new characters, new adaptations of previous characters, and very stunning artwork. I've really enjoyed this. There was a period of time where I did not enjoy a lot of artwork in comics. Same thing with a lot of animation as well, where things started to feel very fake and cartoony like, and in a way that I did not care for. I am starting to see more of this hybrid balance now, instead of this overcorrection where it has a very 80s to 90s foundational feel in terms of the artwork and the color palettes and tones, but at the same time it has this more updated look and feel to it, and crispness and sharpness and dynamic feel. So I'm really excited a lot for the new artwork coming out in this new era. In these new issues, we will see our favorite heroes and new heroes face some new challenges, possibly some old villains in new ways, encounter unexpected twists and turns, and hopefully forge ahead on their own new and epic and unique journeys. Now, I really hope everyone is ready for some heart-pumping, deep character development, non-stop action, and plenty of surprises along the way, because I know I am. So sit tight, hold on to your hats, and prepare to join myself and hopefully many others as we go on this journey for the Dawn of DC. Now, let's get started in revealing these two new issues and dive into the world of these beloved characters in a new, fun way. Now, in my opinion, and the opinion of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of others, Nightwing's adventures have been expertly crafted in the early days by Chuck Dixon, I would say, but now more so than ever by Tom Taylor. Now, Tom Taylor has quickly become one of the most sought-after writers in the industry, and for very good reason. Specifically, his work on Nightwing has been nothing short of exceptional and breathtaking. He's really breathed new life into this character in ways that I thought the well was kind of already coming up dry on. And he's really come on to deliver storylines that are both extremely gripping and really resonate emotionally with me and hopefully you as well. Now, one thing that, to me, that really sets Taylor apart as a writer, I would say, is his ability to balance action and the character development in a really, really, really good and balanced way that is not as common as people might think. Now, Nightwing is a superhero comic, and as such, readers expect, plenty of their, action and kick-assery, but at the same time, Taylor really delivers on that front, but at the same time, just really, really with the emotional feels and the relationships is where he gets you. Now, yes, there's, heart-pumping fight scenes and thrilling set pieces, the backdrops, I'm sure he's the one that's coming up with the descriptions before the art is getting designed. So as much as the art and the artist deserves a ton of credit for the amazing backdrops that have been throughout Tom Taylor's Nightwing series, I feel a big part of that is probably the great work and passion and genuine effort he's put into his descriptions of that for the artist to see and create. But Taylor also, understands that the best of superhero stories are more about, than just flashy costumes and epic battles. They're about the people underneath, the masks and the struggles that they face in their everyday lives and the growth in their self-identity. And I would say in Taylor's hands, Nightwing is a now fully, unbelievably realized character with hopes, fears, doubts, just like anybody else, but just in a multitude and multifaceted layers that, even though it was always great before, has reached new levels, I would say, with Tom Taylor's writing. He is a hero, but more than anything and more than most comic book characters, I feel like we really connect with how much of a human being, he really is, in the ways that we do with like the Flash and Spider-Man, a lot of those characters that we really, really, really seem to connect to with everyday people. That's really just what I feel makes his writing so relatable. And, another hallmark of Taylor's writing is his ability to create these compelling supporting characters. The way that Nightwing and Dick Grayson, his relationships and the way that he interacts with these people is really what you stay for. I mean, you come for the art and for the amazing one-liners and the amazing tone and themes. But it's the supporting characters and the relationships, specifically a lot of the times with the Titans, with Wally West and Batman, obviously, that and the other Robins and the whole Bat family with Dick Grayson and Nightwing, that just really, really, that's what you stay for. Now, Nightwing has always had a rich cast of characters, like I said, from Batman to his friendship with Wally West or his Titans team. But I would say under Taylor's pen, these characters feel way more fleshed out and three-dimensional than ever before. They're not just in there to fill out the roster. They're integral parts of the story, their own unique personalities and motivations. And that's why I feel like Tom Taylor is the one that's really in control and getting the main writing, like for Titans and for Nightwing. And if there ends up being more and more individual runs with characters that are from the Titans, he will be a big part of that, because he has built more than just one character. He's built a family, like his own Bat family, in a sense, his own Nightwing family with his Titans family, and it's been such an impressive ride so far. But I would say probably most impressively, Taylor manages to really just infuse, these stories, no matter how gritty they are, with this amazing sense of hope and optimism always. That's just never not apparent, no matter how bleak the scene, the panel, the situation. I just feel like that's often missing a lot from modern comics, because we reached, after post-crisis and Alan Moore's Watchmen, we've reached just like and for good reason. These grittier and darker stories are better. It's better writing. It's reached comic books into a real level of novelship and literature, and created almost a whole new medium, even though we still use a lot of the same terminology. And, despite all these challenges and setbacks, that, Nightwing faces throughout these adventures, he never, ever loses sight of that main goal, which is to make his city, Bloodhaven, but overall the whole world a better place. It's not this vengeful mission like a lot of like the older aged characters in comics often were, where it was a loss and a tragedy and then vengeance, but then trying to stay in this balanced way of doing better for the world. I mean, really the thing that's always at the forefront of Dick's consciousness is making the world a better place, which is just, I feel like that represents a lot of what the millennial and Gen Z generations are about, whether it be through the environment or other, like we just really want to create a better world and a better place and heal people and save people more than destroy people. And nobody, I feel like, represents and emphasizes that more than the Nightwing character, and especially under Tom Taylor's pen. In this world that can seem often extremely dark and cynical, I just feel like these messages are, what readers need now more than ever. So I've rambled on enough, but I would just say in a short summarization, Tom Taylor is just a writer who really understands what makes Nightwing such a beloved character. He's delivered some of the best Nightwing stories in recent memory. And whether you're a longtime fan or, a newcomer to the character or the world of DC Comics, his work on Nightwing is not to be missed. And, it cannot go without mentioning, Travis Moore's art as an artist, and the other artists who have collaborated with Tom Taylor, because that's one reason why I feel like the comics are just so great, because I feel like you can tell in comics a lot of the times when the tones and the writing doesn't always, it's still good on both ends and you admire both aspects of it. Usually you lean more towards the writing or more towards the artwork, but in this, a lot of it really is, equally of value. Like all of the art that Travis Moore does and, Bruno Redondo for the cover, it's a collaboration, and you feel it and you see it among every page, and I'm so excited for this Nightwing issue 101. So let's get cracking and getting started. Now, before we can quickly get into the story, let's talk about this once again. Incredible cover art. Man, I love this. I love Redondo's use of color. It's in space and everything. Just such a phenomenal artist. Now, just one of the most impressive aspects of Redondo's style is really its ability to create lifelike characters, that are just really, really expressive and unique and real. And every character that he draws has this just really distinct look and personality. They don't just blend into the scene. They really make them pop and stand out. They're not just these two-dimensional figures. And this level of detail just really allows readers, and myself specifically, connect with the characters on a really deeper level. Amazing Nightwing cover. It's one of the only series that I just want every variant, even ones that aren't done by Redondo. The art is just so good. It's so genuine. Yeah, I absolutely love this. All right, let's get into this story. So this issue, Nightwing 101, which is Nightwing Rise of the Underworld. Now, in this issue, as we can see, it starts off, with Neuron's demons returning to hell and reporting that Nightwing, just Nightwing, has stopped them from capturing Olivia Desmond. Now, Neuron realizes that Nightwing clearly had help from a magical nature, and very quickly and obviously deduces, as I did before even reading any of the dialogue, that Raven is the one that is clearly helping shelter Olivia, and he enlists a shapeshifter and this amazing character who I love, the Grinning Man, who to me is this modern, creepy, updated version of Clayface mixed with those creepy, smiling, skeletal, smiley demons from that episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, if anybody remembers. In that episode, in the later seasons when they're in college, I think it was called Hush or Whisper or Silence or something like that, where they just float around these Slender Man creepy things with their grins, and there's no audio or sound throughout the episode. Nobody can talk or scream or anything, and it's just and they're ripping out people's hearts, and it's creepy as hell. But the Grinning Man kind of really gives off that vibe, but in a mimicry sense, as he copies these other characters. Now, he's currently impersonating the king of Vlatava, as we can see, but they're gonna send him out to find her. Okay, so as we see, the story moves back to on Earth, where Nightwing is visiting the magically shielded house where Olivia is staying with Raven and Beast Boy. Love a lot of the dialogue back and forth here. Very, very funny, very intimate. Like I said, the relationship's built. This is what you stay for. He tells them that, a body's been detected under the rubble of Titan's Tower, and that even though all the students and all the staff are accounted for, that they have to head over there, and that he and Raven are going to go over there, meet up with Starfire, and dig out the rubble and retrieve the corpse or the body that's under there. They have to figure out who it is, and Starfire is the one that ends up blasting it open up the ground, and I love the art and the scene of watching her just rip through the ground in there and not destroy the corpse. But as we find out that the corpse is the king of Vlatava, which like doesn't make any sense because everyone's like pretty sure that the king of Vlatava is currently alive. Now, as Nightwing and them are talking with the investigator about how a lot of this doesn't make sense, it ends up being revealed that the investigator is the Grinning Man. Winds up in this really awesome couple one-shots here. Oh, I love these. It shows that he knocks out Nightwing unconscious and shapeshifts into him and is disguised as Nightwing. The Grinning Man meets up with the rest of the team and follows them back through the portal. I love that shot of him grinning as he's walking back through back to Olivia's house, and just awesome plan. Now, I want everybody to go out and subscribe and buy these comics, so I'm not going to be showing off every single page of art. I'm not going to be covering every single really detailed aspect of the plot of this issue's story. So, like, this was just like a rough kind of major plot and concept go through, so you can get an idea of what the story is going to be about, and hopefully it entices you, engages you, and wants you to actually get it and read it. But let's jump into this Superman issue 1 for this new line. This is a soft reboot, moving into this new era for Dawn of DC, as we can see by the actual Dawn of DC moniker at the top. Now, just to talk a little bit about the writer here, Joshua Williamson. I always say Joshua Williams. It's like, I don't know if it's because I watch too much football, and Williams is just like such a huge common last like name for a lot of football players. But no, Joshua Williamson, who's a great writer. When it really comes to comic book writing, his name should definitely not be overlooked, especially in DC Comics. A lot of people do know about Joshua Williamson, and he's really proven himself to be a very masterful storyteller. Does a really good job at bringing, complex characters to life as well. I definitely, want to read more of Williamson's work, so I could definitely give more of my own personal like feelings about how I feel about individual pieces of his work in a more complex way. Because honestly, I've only really read enough to like just be able to tell that like in comparison to most people, he does set himself apart. He has a deep understanding of the characters. That's really one thing that I do love, like about, his writing. There are a lot of people that are just like, oh, I have a fun idea like to do about like this character, and then they go and they want to write about that character, and they get the opportunity to do it, and they do it. But Joshua Williamson, like a method actor, like really puts a lot of time and research and heart and effort into really like understanding like the complexity of these character, like people who do like really deep like psychoanalytical like acting training, like when they get into a role for a character and they just like really want to know everything inside and out, how they would feel about everything and react in every single situation. And you can tell it shows in Joshua Williamson's writing, like it really does. He has a really keen understanding of what makes, especially in the Superman case, like the Man of Steel, and such an iconic, character. And Williamson has a great talent for creating stories that tap into the heart of Superman, not so much the god stoic Henry Cavill kind of like can't relate as much like to human beings version of Superman. He reminds me a lot more of like, the great versions of like, All-Star Superman, which is a very famous story, but just like a very more down-to-earth, regular man, family guy, working his job, loving his significant other and in his family, and it's just an everyday guy. Like, and I miss that version of Superman that still is dynamic and action-packed and powerful enough in the scenes and in the artwork that it's a good balance. But it definitely, the stories are always more about Superman's character, his moral code, his relationships very, very specifically. But there is some unique, interesting, creative takes, I would say, that, Joshua Williamson has done. Another aspect, of his writing that I would say really makes him stand out is his great ability to create tension. really, really good with like a lot of the one shots between his collaboration with his artists, where he's really good at leaving the ends of issues and leaving transition points in the middle of issues with a really either like grim or dynamic like one shot that really kind of makes you be like oh damn, what is about to happen, or oh man, I really wish the next one was out, because is this just going to be like a quick thing where all of a sudden everything's fine, or is this like seriously leading to something heavier, like, and it's just definitely in terms of like leaving you wanting more, and with that cliffhanger feel, he does a great job at that. But he has a great talent for tackling big ideas and exploring important themes like as well. It's definitely not like loose simple stories like a lot of like older and more generic Superman comics can feel sometimes. It definitely feels like there is smaller, intricate plots going on, but also a much more complex, deeper plot that's building, that you don't necessarily, that's, smart and intelligent enough that you have a couple guesses, but you don't really actually know. Whereas I've experienced a lot of good writers that seem like that they feel like that's what they're doing, but I can already tell like 4 huge arcs down the line, like, what this is like leading into, and it's really obvious, but he does a great job at that. But let's start going through the story in this issue. And before we talk about just like the small, plot summary thing, I'll just like quickly skim through this art just so you can get a good look at this, because again, Jamal Campbell, great artist. Yeah, this is great work. So yeah, just really quick word, Jamal Campbell's, artistic style, I love. It's again his use of bold, vibrant colors, which is a very popular thing that's like happening more and more with some of these artists that they're using for Dawn of DC, and I love that. Going from this very grittier and darker paletted era to that really contrasted from like dark grittiness to then very like offsetting in the opposite direction. This is like a lot of Dawn of DC here so far has just been feeling very bright and colorful no matter what. Like they have found ways to do dark and grittier scenes while still keeping everything very vibrant and colorful and dynamic. But yeah, Jamal Campbell has just such great talent for capturing like emotional nuances like on characters. I would say like he creates really powerful, impactful imagery, but something that has like a lot of staying power. Isn't just kind of like whoa, shocking, but like has a very kind of like subtle, like you feel it deep, and it resonates with you. But I truly love his use of like small splash panels, like in the middle, like as we see throughout here. If we look here, I'll show you like this one here. But yeah, I love his use of like these small splash panels, like in the middle of like a collection of panels, because like, and they show like an item like on a desk, or like a badge, like a name on a badge, like during an introduction between 2 characters. I just love it. It's like this really like creative and intimate tool that like helps with like the pacing of the storytelling so much, and really like shows like that collaboration between writer and artist. But it reminds me a lot like when you watch TV or film, and like a character walks into something, like into a room, and they're like oh, like what's like such and such, and then they just have like that quick zoomed in shot like away from the characters that like shows like the electric panel on the wall, and then it cuts back to them and they're like, oh, there it is right over there. And it's just like I really love his use of the small splash panels like that in the middle, because it really gives me that type of transitional cut and feel, but like on a paper drawn out form, and I really, really do love that. So going into the story about this one, because this is past the events of Dark Crisis now, and we are now moved into the Dawn of DC. This is this soft reboot as we see. This first issue really just kind of sees the Man of Steel returning home, trying to find some sense of normality again, as we often see in these soft transitional reboots into new eras. And after these, huge events from Dark Crisis, Clark Kent, isn't really, doesn't really feel destined as to have a simple and ordinary life. That seems to be the common theme and issues in Superman comics. That is the kind of like, it's what it, always constant theme. Nothing really like new there. But this issue really sees, Clark splitting his time like between like being Superman and also like being Clark Kent, and like mostly like handling like his duties being back at the Daily Planet. And I really miss those balanced Superman stories where it's not just him out universe saving all the time these big cataclysmic things, but just like where it's, again, more like Spider-Man and more like the Flash, where it's this balance between his regular everyday life and going out and saving Metropolis. But the other problem that Clark can't shake off is Lex Luthor's voice, because even though he got incinerated, I'm so sorry. Even though he got incarcerated and he's in prison, Lex knows that Superman can hear him. And this is something that, again, as I cover the post-Crisis up to Dark Crisis era and do more of like a better recap, and in case, you aren't familiar with that at this point in time, they have more of this telekinetic connection right now, telepathic connection between the two of them right now. And he's been, encouraging the Man of Steel to heed his advice and, really take up his offer for help. And what I love about what this issue does is it shows this. You don't trust Lex because you can't ever trust Lex, but he's done this sort of like Tony Stark, Iron Man sort of thing where he has like, or sort of like if we were to use it more of like a realistic term, like in our real world, it's like, like a Jeff Bezos or like a Elon Musk or somebody like that is like, let me put all of my resources, money, and everything and hand it over to like, this like just like this environmental group that's just like trying to do nothing but like help and save the world with like amazing new like technology and everything. It's like you feel like there's something suspicious going on, but it's also like intriguing because you're like, yeah, like what would it really be like to see Clark Kent and Superman like having the full resources of like a LexCorp, or like as it's shown throughout in here, turning into a Superman Corp, like it has a very almost kind of, if anybody watches on Amazon Prime, on Amazon there, the Boys, it has that very kind of like feel to it, like with Vought Enterprises, where it's like, this, amazing capitalistic soups thing. And it's like, is Superman going to be a little bit too like corrupted, almost like, like a young entrepreneur or creative person being offered like all this money or deal, like in the Silicon Valley TV show, if anybody's from that, like Richard's character, like, it seems like it's all like somebody wants to like mentor them and support them and give them all these resources. But like, as you can tell a lot of times in those shows, in a lot of those stories, the person does eventually get, the moral person and more soft and gentle person like ends up getting more corrupted, having all these resources, and they start to feel like they can make these decisions like how Homelander does, like in The Boys, where he just feels like he knows what's right and that, he is who he is, and who is anybody to tell him otherwise. And it almost feels like that could be what Lex is sort of corrupting him to be like. But at the same time, could it also be a new dawn of DC where Lex is actually going, hey, we have a bigger problem, and it's almost more like showing a creative or storyline theme or trope about how in today's day and age we all feel more separated and in terms of like our beliefs and what we think is the right thing to do, and yet we have these bigger overarching like problems that we feel like, even though we have these smaller battles that we're facing, we have these bigger things. We're almost like, the enemy of our enemy of our greater enemy is our friend. And it's like, it could be sort of a situation like that, or it could be that because there is a bigger universe-arching issue or threat that Lex feels is a bigger problem, and that he feels, because we've seen that in the past. We've seen stories in the past where Lex feels like there was a bigger overarching problem, and he and Superman like needed to sort of put their differences aside for a little bit and work together because there was a bigger issue, and it was going to affect him, and he wasn't going to benefit from it. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, which direction they are headed in with this. Let's see. It definitely, I would say, feels like it's providing more of a foundation for more linear storytelling. It kind of honestly is reminiscent of Superman the Animated Series. Like, I grew up on that, and that's one reason why I'm really excited about this run too, is it almost feels very heavily influenced and inspired by the Superman Animated Series from the 90s, in both its narrative approach and, you know, like choosing, you know, the path of least resistance, focusing more on like fun and interesting storylines and relationships than like these big, crazy, destructive, gritty, world-ending fight scenes and feats of strength. It's definitely more breezy and lighthearted. It's definitely going to appeal like to readers of all ages, but you can tell by the end, like if we go and look at this one-shot ending shot here with Superman down on the table here with a scalpel over him, that even though it's a breezy and lighthearted story that, you know, and still could be read by readers of all ages, you know, this is definitely, you know, got some serious stuff headed its way and building towards it. And like I said, Joshua Williams is very good at leaving us on this cliffhanger feeling of, you know, what's going to happen next and wanting more. But yeah, I'm really loving this this first issue. Superman is in this one is constantly being like distracted away and gets into a couple different tussles throughout Metropolis, really showing off that, like, again, that animated series feel of somehow the city is constantly in harmony, peace, and functioning and running, and yet like every like hour or so something starts like destroying a whole block of the city. So it's not like, you know, every couple weeks Superman is needed, like how you see sometimes in like how the TV shows can make it feel like the live action TV shows. It's definitely more of it feels like everything is constantly going in this fantasy and sci-fi world. But I'm really loving this. I really love and I really think people will enjoy this, get this, you know, subscribe to it, get this comic run. But I really love what Williamson is doing with Lois Lane's character. Again, like from a feminist perspective, I really love how more developed, three-dimensional and complex and layered female characters are being written more now. And I love it. Right here is a great example of in Lois Lane. Like in this one page right here, you're able to see pretty much like almost her whole personality in like 3 panels. Like, you know, hands on the hips, you know, I'm in command, chief editor of this, you know, the Daily Planet now. You know, everyone's, you know, hut, stand to, like, let's do our jobs. You tell us to jump, we say how high. But then immediately showing her more softer human side of like, why did I take on this responsibility? Like, what am I doing? And showing a more like humorous and just like funny and fun side of her. But then also showing like her immediate like intimacy and relationships going with these other people at the Daily Planet, like all but this in a matter of like 2 pages. Like it didn't like, let's take some time to slowly build her. Like let's show her all as this fully developed and fully blown out person and developed person right off the bat, just within like 2 pages. And I love this, and I'm really excited to see more about like of what her character is going to be instilled. You know, what's in store for her character through the rest of this series. All right, I have taken up an unbelievable amount of too many people's time. We overextended our stay. I figured that was going to happen. That's why I said 8:30 to 9-ish, because I had a really good feeling, this being like my first unboxing and unveiling here, that it was gonna be like this. But thank you, like everyone that watches this or that is getting more hyped and involved with Dawn of DC. I'm really excited to keep doing more. Keep looking out for more of the dates that I keep getting out for more series that are being released, or watch my intro video on my YouTube channel. Remember, like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, anything. If you're looking up, you know, Derek's Comics or Derek_comics, like you will pretty much find me. But if you watch the intro video, I list off a lot of the series that are being released and a lot of the dates going along with that. But really, it's a slower start, but I wanted it to be that way with these just first couple issues coming out. It's really going to be like April and May when we really start having a lot more of the other series start to dump out like all at once. And by then we'll also be more into like a lot of my Spider Mondays as well. So we'll have just lots more issues to constantly be unboxing and going through. But hopefully by then I will do a better job at summing up and not dumping too much of an over-complexed like opinion or analysis like on people's art and writing. I really just wanted to do that, this first time when I'm talking about a series or an artist or a writer for the first time, because I really, really want to give these people their due, because these are the amazing people that are touching us in these incredible ways, and have been doing it for years and are going to continue to do so. And they're the future of this Dawn of DC era, and I really, really want them to have their dues and put a lot of attention on, and not just being like, hey, they're a great writer, go check them out, but now focus on my content. Like, I really want people to like really hear and see like my genuine like love and real like thoughts that I've had about like their art styles and their writing styles, because it really is genuinely impressive and amazing, and you really all should go check them out and spend your money, that any disposable income that you have on their amazing works of art that they're creating, because it's incredible. But thank you all for staying with me and being on this fun first show for me. Again, keep an eye out. I'm going to be trying to post more smaller videos that just like have small updates for things, so that not all my videos are these big, longer videos. Again, just still trying to work out, my routine and in a good format here. I appreciate any comments, any suggestions, just anything that you want to know, whether it's about me, anything about the DC universe. If it seems like we're already going too far past a point that a lot of people aren't caught up to, and you want more of a quick refresher, I already plan on doing something that more covers like just like the basic DC timeline and major events, mostly through post-crisis, like up until like Dawn of DC, just so people are a little bit more caught up on major information. But other than that, yeah, thank you all for hanging out with me, and everybody have a great rest of your week, and looking forward to seeing everybody soon. Take care.